Hello my loves and welcome to the Perfume Realm. My name is Manahil and today we are going to be engaging in perfume war. So the fragrances that are going to be battling today is Scandal versus Girl of Now, Midnight Rose from Lancome versus La Nuit Tresor, also from Lancome. That's going to be a little civil war. And then Shalimar Souflee Intense versus Celeron's Manifesto. Before we jump into this battle, I just wanted to say if you do enjoy this video or any of my previous content, I would love it if you consider subscribing, give this video a like, and then share with a friend. Also, I'm super active on Instagram, love doing little reviews over there, so definitely check out my page. It is perfume.realm. Okay, so let's get started. We have Scandal and Girl of Now. The reason that I chose these two to battle each other is because they both kind of fall in the same category for me, which is a very sweet but perfumey gourmand. They're like super foodie gourmands, and then there are gourmands in my mind. I'm like moving both of these around. There are, and this is kind of dangerous actually, but there are gourmands in my mind that have more of that kind of perfumey, more of that kind of synthetic touch to it, and not synthetic in a bad way, but just not as foodie and overly realistic as some gourmands are. Also, the reason I decided to pair them up is because they are both very feminine in their sweetness. However, I feel that Scandal's feminine quality is more sensual and scandalous, and Elisab's Girl of Now feminine side is more girly and sweet and innocent. And we're going to get right into it. So Scandal opens up with a very prominent honey note. The honey note is also accompanied with blood orange. And because of that blood orange, the honey almost reaches a point where it kind of turns sour from the tanginess and a little bit of that bitterness that comes from the blood orange. In my opinion, it falls just short of being sour, which is a really good thing because it really adds this kind of edge to this fragrance that a lot of other fragrances don't have, in my opinion, which is Elisab's Girl of Now. They both also have kind of the same DNA, which is the reason I decided to pair them up, but they both went in a little bit of a different direction. The reason this is scandalous is because that honey with the blood orange really adds that twist, a little bit of an edge. It's really hard to go unnoticed because it's very strong, and I personally love honey notes, so this is great for me, but it does stand out. It is a little bit more of a nighttime scent. Also, that perfumey quality that I was talking about in the beginning, I personally feel comes from the gardenia because it really adds that kind of floral note that lightens up the honey and sweetens it up as well, and kind of saves it from becoming that sour note, and has patchouli, what really kind of grounds it. I think the patchouli really ends up grounding this a little bit, and I think that this perfume is marketed in the perfect way. It is scandalous. It has that kind of allure, a little bit of a naughty character to it. And these little legs on top is perfect because I can just picture a woman with a high slit, in her dress, sitting with her legs out a little bit and kind of doing side glances around the room. That's what I picture with Scandalous. And then we have Elisab's Girl of Now. So I actually just recently purchased this, and I have to say, people often say that fragrances like these that share the same DNA, it gets tired because they just kind of change one note here and there, and they think that they've created a new fragrance. Now, in my opinion, that's kind of a big generalization to make because I think that a note can definitely change a fragrance for the better. Like, it can have the exact same DNA and that note elevates it, it changes it. It's a whole different note. How can you say that, oh, they're just tossing in honey in this one, and then in Girl of Now, the pistachio note? That is the top note in this rather than that honey, and I wish that more fragrances incorporated this note and kind of showcased it because I had never really thought of pistachio before. Like, I don't think I've ever come across a fragrance with pistachio, but as soon as I smelled this, I knew I was smelling pistachio. It wasn't just because I had seen people talk about it, like I could pick up on it right away. I mean, personally, I love pistachios anyways, especially in dessert. And this is definitely a pistachio in dessert, and I will get to that. But what I was saying about the note thing, I think that a lot of people kind of say, well, they just kind of threw in pistachios so that they could sell this as a whole new fragrance. But that one note makes a huge difference in this, because to me this is scandalous, and to me this is a sweet, innocent yet elegant, not juvenile girl, just fresh and more youthful. To me, this is a girl walking around in a summer dress, looking beautiful and put together. For me, unfortunately, Girl of Now doesn't have amazing performance. It actually really evaporates quite quickly from my skin, and Scandalous lasts forever on my skin and clothing. This just doesn't, which is really unfortunate because I love it. And the pistachio in the beginning very soon goes away, it dissipates, and yes, then you're left with a fragrance without the pistachio, and that's probably what people refer to as, oh, it's just one note, it doesn't actually change the real fragrance. But it changes the experience of the fragrance. So that pistachio, even when it's gone, it has changed the experience in the way I look at this fragrance. And also, although honey is right at the top, it's very persistent, and I feel like I can still smell that honey until the very end in Scandalous. So the reason I wanted to do a perfume more for this video is just because several of these fragrances in my collection reminded me of the other, and I don't want to really say this one is better or this one is worse, because they both have kind of different aspects that I love, and that's why they're in my collection. But I just wanted to have them versing each other so that if any of you have ever experienced these fragrances yourself, you can maybe see if you have any connections that you draw between them. And if you do, let me know in the comments, because I love responding to you guys. Let me know which one you would prefer. Let's say Scandal versus Girl of Now, and same goes for all the other fragrances that I'm going to talk about. It's just more like talking about the similarities, comparing and contrasting. It's not really a war, but it's fun to say that it is. And so let's go into the next one, and we are going to do Shalimar Souflee Intense versus Celeron Manifesto. The reason that I am using these two is because they also both fall into the same category for me, and this is a very wispy, very powdery fragrance with the vanilla in it. Now, the reason I love Shalimar Souflee Intense is because it's not this kind of empty powderiness. I typically don't like powdery fragrances that just don't have any base to it. It literally is just that dusty powder, and that's not what this is. It has a creamy, citrusy kind of base to it, and on top of that base, it's sprinkled with that powderiness. That sillage that I leave might have a little bit of powderiness at the bottom, and people want to just come closer so they can get the whole experience that I get to experience because it's right here wrapped around me. So anyways, this is getting unfair. Let's talk about Celeron Manifesto. Now, this fragrance is, I just feel like it falls just short of being amazing, and then lies in the category of being a dud in my collection. It's just the vanilla powder of Shalimar minus any kind of substance and base to it, and just for me, this is truly just a powdery fragrance for powderiness sake. Like, it literally is just existing to be powdery, and there are people who love that kind of scent, and I definitely think then this is for you. But for me, I'd rather just douse myself in a baby powder or a talcum powder. And it's not sugary. Like, people say it's like the dusting that people put on top of cream puffs, you know, like powdered sugar, and it's like, to me, a very weak powdered sugar. To me, this is like the most lame powdered sugar in the entire world. You can take that cream puff, because I don't want to have anything to do with that powdered sugar. But let me just say, to kind of save this and make it a little bit more fair, the performance is very good, definitely very good. And also, it's a very safe fragrance to wear. I don't think that many people can really be offended by it. If anything, they're just going to be like, well, that's a lame perfume, but I don't think anyone can be offended by it. Okay, so we are at the final battle, and this war is going to be a civil war because it is between two fragrances from the same company, and that is Lancome's Midnight Rose and La Nuit Tresor. So, Midnight Rose. Wow, when I got this, people have been raving about this, and this actually for me was a blind buy because I loved La Nuit Tresor. I love a lot of Lancome's fragrances, and I thought it would just be like a safe bet. And technically it is a safe bet. Like, yeah, I guess it's a pleasing fragrance and everything, but the jamminess of this rose is a little bit too, it turns a little bit artificial and a little bit off-putting. It's that sweet that it kind of reaches the point where it smells like it's overripe. And it's not horrible, like I'm not like disgusted by it or anything, but I really can't stomach like too much of it. And plus this is very strong. It has amazing performance, like a lot of Lancome's fragrances do for me. So I definitely can't overspray this or anything. I can only do like a couple. And also in the beginning when I first got it, I don't know why, but it kind of gave me like grape candy kind of a vibe, and I don't know if I can still get that now because I pick up a lot more of the rose now rather than that like fruitiness, which is probably like, I feel like those berries, like the red berries, really turned into like a grape note for me for some reason. But one of the main reasons that I have kept it in my collection and what really saved it for me is that people love this. I get so many compliments on this, and you know, we always kind of take perfume and only think of our experience with it, which is really good. It's really our opinion that matters. But we forget that the beautiful composition of perfume also has that sillage and projection aspect to it, which is also part of its beauty at times. And I do know that the beauty and appreciation that I have for this fragrance is for the people who get to smell it when it's projecting and kind of radiating off of me, and the people who do get to smell my sillage. The sillage and the projection actually have a scent because it is so strong up close that even by the time you reach someone else in the distance, there's still something there to smell. You know what I mean? It's not just completely drifted away, and there's a beauty in that. So I actually do love this fragrance, but in a different way. I definitely love it in a different way. Then La Nuit Tresor from Lancome. This one is, again, amazing performance. I know a lot of people have already heard of this, probably own it. Projection, sillage, all of that is just on point. And I actually want to go smell the A La Folie version because I haven't smelled that one yet, and I know people adore it. They say I think it has more of a caramel vibe, and I love caramel. But I do really like this. I think it's a really good going out scent. I can actually very easily sense the DNA shared between La Nuit Tresor and the Midnight Rose. That sometimes people say that these two kind of flankers to Tresor are day and night, and I actually find that they're a little bit more closely related. She knows what she's doing. She's not trying to hide it or anything. That to me is La Nuit Tresor from Lancome. So this one to me is a great fragrance. Even with sillage and the projection, I think people are getting relatively the same experience that you are yourself, because that smokiness, all of it really carries really well, but that Tresor Midnight Rose really gets diluted as you're walking, and it kind of turns from that really overly ripe quality that I talked about into something a lot more desirable and just really nice. I do like the sillage of that, definitely. All right, my loves, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I thought it would be fun to kind of switch this up and do kind of more of a comparing and contrasting review. so that it wouldn't just be one of those reviews that just drones on, and maybe it would be a little bit more engaging. I'm not sure. Let me know if it was more engaging, entertaining, if you enjoyed it at all. But I did hit 100 subscribers here on YouTube and 400 followers on Instagram, which is a really big deal for me because I started my channel and my page pretty recently, and I'm really happy with the growth, and I'm more happy with the community I joined. And I'm really saying this from a place of sincerity. Like, I'm not trying to fluff this up or anything, but truly, like, the fragrance community is just amazing. I know that a lot of YouTube communities can be very catty, and there's always all this like controversy and scandals going on, but really I have had nothing but support with the community so far, and it's just been a really fun time, and I'm so happy that I get to share my passion with you guys and all the people in this community, and it's been a great time, and I'm really excited to keep going and keep growing. So stick with me, stick with me, stick with me. I already am so thankful that you guys have been with me this far. So anyways, thank you for watching. Have a good one.